Tonight on 60 Minutes.
Greenpeace is mainly megabucks.
Magnus Gudmundsson, the Icelandic filmmaker Greenpeace has tried to muzzle.
I think most people in New Zealand, let alone other countries, would be shocked to discover that a guy like this is perceived by such a big organization as being an enemy that somehow has to be destroyed.
Kia ora and happy Easter. Welcome to another 60 minutes of current affairs from across New Zealand and around the world. Later tonight, we'll bring you a bizarre new twist in our story from last week about serial sex offender Tony Tebow. But first, the Greenbuster. Over the past week, you've probably heard about him. Tonight, you'll meet him. He's the Icelandic journalist who's dared to take on Greenpeace, questioning their methods and their motives. Greenpeace is fighting back, and fighting hard. Tonight, Genevieve Westcott with the story of how one of the world's most popular and powerful green organisations has marshalled its forces to muzzle one man. A warning, some of the pictures in this story may disturb some viewers.
I'm an investigative reporter. I have been investigating your organization. And I'm sure if you would know all the details about your own organization, you would have difficulties in your mind remaining there.
Magnus Gudmundsson, the man Greenpeace calls the enemy, an enemy they've been stalking around the world for 4 years.
And if you've got somebody who's going from country to country trying to libel us, then it's, first of all, it's not very hard to keep track of Magnus around the world because wherever he goes, he's trying to attract publicity to him.
How is he
How much
libeled
does this cost?
Wherever they meet, it's an explosive combination, and it usually sounds something like this.
I can't say I'm lying.
You know,
I mean,
exactly
you're
right.
here.
I am not associated with the fishing industry.
But that's your
of New
signature
Zealand.
above there.
That's your signature.
I was
But who is this mysterious Magnus who's being hunted by Greenpeace, one of the most powerful environmental organizations in the world?
I've studied these campaigns and I've studied the tactics of not only Greenpeace but several groups. And I've been involved in this since '85.
Well, Magnus Gudmundsson is an independent filmmaker from Iceland, a respected journalist whose investigations into Greenpeace and other environmental groups have raised critical questions about how they do business. Greenpeace says Gudmundsson is just a man in the pay of the Icelandic government, a lackey of whaling interests, claims which Greenpeace have never proved, claims which Gudmundsson strongly denies. So when the New Zealand Fishing Industry Association flew him in to speak at their conference here in God's Own, the battle lines were drawn.
For the last couple of years, we've been concerned about some of the outrageous claims being made by Greenpeace.
Eric Barrett, president of the New Zealand Fishing Industry Association.
6 months, they've continued to make claims regarding hooker sea lions and things like that. And we just want their organisation to be questioned and their motives questioned.
Why now? I mean, Greenpeace has been around for years.
Well, I don't think they've ever really been brought to account. It's time they were. It's time the public of New Zealand realised that money is being solicited from them under sometimes less than honest approaches.
Clean and green, unspoiled. That's how we like to think of ourselves here in New Zealand. So it's not surprising then that for years there's been a major love affair between Kiwis and Greenpeace. In fact, last year New Zealanders donated $4.5 million to the cause. But now a troubling question. Has love been blind? Enter the Iceman.
Greenpeace is mainly megabucks. You see some of the evidence straight here behind me. It's a huge industry, protest industry that's developed over the years and is only thriving in order to maintain its own existence.
Are you saying Greenpeace is in it strictly for the money?
Definitely, yes.
This is the film that has changed Gudmundsson's life forever. The father of two sold Christmas trees to finance it. It's a film about the devastation of North Atlantic communities in the wake of environmental protection campaigns. For centuries, entire villages have survived by sealing and whaling. It's a difficult life in a hostile environment. It's a story Gudmundsson said the world had to hear.
Numerous settlements in Greenland have depended for centuries on trading sealskins for various necessities. Campaigning by Greenpeace and other organizations against selling sealskins in Western countries has ruined these local economies.
A Greenlander tells of the death of their culture.
Så man kan nok se, at hele samfundet det lider under de problemer, som Greenpeace har.
Greenpeace is right in that people of the world want us to bear witness to inhumane action.
Nikki Carrington of Greenpeace New Zealand and Karen Mulvaney of Greenpeace International.
Magnus Gudmundsson made a libelous film about Greenpeace, which he tried to show all kinds of unsubstantiated allegations about us.
In fact, Greenpeace was so angry about the film, they took Gudmundsson to court in Norway for libel. But the judge ruled that the case was partly won and partly lost by both sides. Gudmundsson had to pay Greenpeace some compensation, but most of his film was vindicated. Among the film's more spectacular allegations, that Greenpeace doctored one of its most famous seal hunting scenes to milk public sympathy. This footage ultimately destroyed the sealing industry. Gudmundsson's investigations raised disturbing questions about just how truthful the Greenpeace filmmakers had been. The Norwegian judge said Gudmundsson couldn't prove it was staged, but the judge let the following clip stand.
The film that was shown is definitely a false scene. For one thing, a real hunter would not do what was performed on that film. The whole scene was not right compared to how the real hunters would go about hunting.
And there were more allegations by Gudmundsson about Greenpeace propaganda.
One of the most serious falsifications of this kind is a myth created in the 60s and later exploited by Greenpeace and other protectionist groups that seal hunters skin the animals alive. The Western media swallowed the story whole, and filmed evidence was televised around the world. Canadian Gustave Poirier was the film crew's guide across the ice. Under oath, he later testified before a Canadian parliamentary commission that he had been paid by the film crew to torture and flay the seal alive in front of the camera. But the media took little notice of his confession. The effect of the falsification was to leave the world still apparently convinced that seals are skinned alive in large numbers by hunters.
The Norwegian judge agreed with Gudmundsson this was propaganda, but Greenpeace refuses to buy it.
Greenpeace as an organization has been going for 20 years. I'm sure if you could dig through anything and find that we'd made a small mistake here, a small mistake there. I'm not going to make a blanket claim to say we've never made a mistake because I couldn't make that statement. However, the kind of things that Magnus Gudmundsson are accusing us of doing are ridiculous.
Then what about the kangaroos? More proof, Gudmundsson says that Greenpeace uses stage scenes of animal torture to promote their cause. Greenpeace admitted to the Norwegian judge the footage was staged. The judge said Greenpeace consciously uses falsifications in their propaganda.
So what does that say to you in the end?
It says to me that to them the end justifies the means, and they go as far as they need to make money and to hit the emotions of people in order to make more money.